Zoo-wee mama! I'm here today to talk about Emperor Hulkling, the newest card coming to Marvel Snap, and whether I think he's going to be worth chasing after with your precious resources, or if I think he's going to be a bit of a bust and you can skip on him, save for some other cards. So on August 27th, we have Emperor Hulkling, the last card of this season, 6 cost, 11 powered card, with the pretty interesting ability at the start of the game. Copy the text of a random 6 cost card. Okay, so he's gonna do something different just about every time you play him, and that's kind of fun, that's interesting. But is it good? Is it worth running over just a normal 6 cost card that you know what it's gonna do? Okay, we've seen good RNG in the game with Arishem and Loki, but those also cheat energy. Emperor Hulkling isn't cheating energy. He's actually very similar to Valentina, except you don't get a 2-3 on the board to start. So we're going to look over all the 6 cost cards on the next slide and try to figure out where his average will be. And then I'll just go into some pros and cons. I'll give you 3 deck ideas that you can play with Emperor Hulkling if you do decide to pick him up. And then I'll just give my final ratings and predictions for this card. So here is the list of all current cards in Marvel Snap that cost at least 6 energy. Hulkling, however, is only looking at cards that cost specifically 6, not more than that. So we can eliminate Arishem and Death. They are not in the card pool. Now let's talk about some really bad cards. Some cards you definitely do not want Emperor Hulkling to copy the text of. We are looking at Agatha. It's just a worse Agatha. It's a worse Destroyer, a worse Giganto, and a worse Infinite. I mean, all of these suck. Giganto's not terrible, but you're still losing 3 power, and he's restricted to the left lane. But what about the good? We got 4 pretty bad basically all the time. In terms of the good, well, we got about 6 that I think are almost always very good, that you're going to be very happy to see regardless of which deck you're playing. Okay, we're looking at Arnim Zola. Even if you don't have an amazing target, you're still copying something within 11 powered Arnim Zola. We've got Blob. Hulkling could get to at least 24 power with a Blob. Doctor Doom is just 6 extra power. Leader is 8 extra power. Odin is an extra 3, and most decks run at least a couple on reveals, so you'll probably have a good target even if your deck isn't built for like a whole Wong combo. And then we've got Ultron. Okay, turn 6, you've got an Ultron with plus 3 power, adding a bunch of the Ultron bots to other locations. That's just good extra power. Okay, so I think you're happy to see any of these. Everything else, I think, is neutral. Okay, these remaining 19 cards, maybe he gets their ability with 1 extra power or 1 less power, but it's all around the same ballpark. Some cards, the ability just doesn't matter, right? If you're not playing Discard, Hela's ability doesn't matter. If you're not playing Destroy, Null's ability doesn't matter. Galactus sounds fun, but your deck probably isn't built to win a 1-lane game. I mean, most of these cards just don't matter. He's giving you, plus or minus just a few points of power. If you do throw in a couple ongoing cards, though, you could maybe get some good value out of Spectrum and Onslaught. Okay, most decks do not run many ongoings as a default, but if you do throw in a couple good ones, that could just give you 2 extra good targets for Hulkling. So to go over Hulkling's key synergies, we are looking at a card like Wave. Listen, he's a big 6 cost card. You might be playing him in a deck with other nice big 6 cost cards, and you're just looking to have some crazy stuff go down. Wave is going to help you accomplish that. A card like Blue Marvel could be really nice. As I mentioned, if you throw in a nice ongoing, that gives you 2 extra targets. It gives value to Spectrum. It also gives value to Onslaught. But even a card like Arnim Zola, you hit him on Blue Marvel. If Hulkling got Arnim Zola's text, that's giving you extra value. And then just put him in Arishem. Arishem already has RNG. You can get him out on turn 5. You're just adding more chaos and madness to that mix. In terms of cards he's countered by, well, first up, I just mentioned he likes Wave. So if you like Wave, you do not want to see Mobius. Hulkling could also copy multiple 6 cost cards that get energy discounts. Okay, I'm talking about She-Hulk, Sasquatch, Mockingbird. Okay, there's a few cards that get discount power, even Scar. So if Hulkling copies those, but you're against a Mobius, he's just a 6'11". Again, okay, he has no ability. Shang-Chi is always going to hit him, even if he copied the text of a card that normally has less power. And then Juggernaut's just going to mess with you, okay? Maybe you feel like you got really lucky. You got this Odin or an onslaught, and you think you're going to surprise your opponents with this, with your super lucky buffed up Hulkling, and then your opponent just moves it out of the way first with Juggernaut, and your whole surprise plan just went down the drain. To look at the good and the bad for Hulkling, we will start off with the good. First up, he's got a solid stat line. Okay, 11 power is nothing to sneeze at. If anything, it's just decent. It's right about the average of most 6-cost cards, so it's just going to be there when you need it. If you just need something big to play, regardless of his ability. The cards that he has really good hits for, he gives a decent amount of extra power. Again, Leader plus 8 power or Arnim Zola plus 11, that can win games, okay? That can go crazy. It's unpredictable for your opponent. This can be very good in conquest mode because he's doing something different each game, right? Each game he's going to be copying the text of a different 6-cost card that your opponent cannot prepare for, but you're going to know what he hit once you draw him. He's just a general flexible 6-cost card, okay? You can pretty much put him in any deck. He won't always get huge value, but he's kind of like Red Hulk or even regular Hulk. If he copies something that's useless, he's basically a vanilla 6'11". So that may not sound great, but it is flexible. In terms of the bad, however, well, he's got some horrible hits. Okay, if you get Agatha, he might have just lost you the game. If you get an Infinite or Destroyer, he might just be a dead card in your hand that's useless. You're going to wish you did not have him in your deck. Most of the hits are neutral, in which case I don't see a great reason to run Hulkling over just a normal 6-cost card, right? If you think Red Hulk is good for your deck, you don't put Hulkling in there to try and get Red Hulk. You can just put Red Hulk in your deck. And so as long as you own the cards that you think work well, he doesn't really have a purpose. You can just play the original card. If maybe you're new to Series 3, maybe you have barely any Series 4 or Series 5 cards, Hulkling maybe gives you some extra value because you can get lucky and get a card that you don't have. But other than that, I think you're going to want to run the OG card to start with instead of Hulkling. While he's unpredictable for your opponent, he's also unpredictable for you each game. And then Arishem is just better for RNG. You can put Arishem in Conquest mode, and your opponent doesn't know what you have every single game. But Arishem actually cheats. Arishem cheats energy. Hulkling never does that. Okay, he never gives you another 6-cost card at a cheaper cost. Sometimes he gives you a 6-cost at more power, but he's never cheating out energy. And the energy cheat is what makes cards like Arishem and Loki really good, even though they involve RNG. Okay, they're cheating more than they're losing out to bad RNG hits. And then he might get worse over time. Second Dinner does love to buff the power of 6-cost cards that haven't seen much play. Off the top of my head, I can recall a power buff to Leader. I can recall power buff to Spectrum, to Destroyer, a few other cards. Okay, they just buffed Apocalypse back. I mean, every time another 6-cost card gets a power buff, Hulkling gets worse. Because now, when he copies that ability, he has their ability with even less of a power advantage or more of a power decrease if they actually have more power than he does. This is just my friendly reminder to give this video a like, hit that thumbs up button, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, because we cover all kinds of new card content here on this channel. To talk about Hulkling's floor and ceiling, we'll start with the floor. This is Hulkling at his reasonable worst. Well, his reasonable worst is that he is actually the worst. Okay? He's getting an Agatha, potentially, but you actually have 3 less power. And, if he drew himself, you don't actually get the Agatha ability where she starts in your hand and you basically have 1 extra draw. If he gets Infinite, well, he's Infinite minus 9 power. So he's a bad 6-cost with less power. I mean, it's just a dead draw, okay, or potentially loses you the game with Agatha. So that's a horrible floor. I mean, this is bad. This is not viable. This is horrible, okay? It's definitely not competitive. This is about as bad as it gets. Okay, he's just a dead card in your hand. It's not even like Valentina, where you at least have a 2-cost or 3-power card on the board, and then a dead card that was generated. In terms of his ceiling, however, well, we talked about some of the good hits. He's going to be a better Doctor Doom. He's going to be a better Leader, a better Blob, etc. So he does have some really good hits. He could end up being like a 6-cost 20, 21 power with Doctor Doom, maybe 24 plus with Blob. Even an Ultron hit could be really good. Like, he does have a good ceiling. If you hit that every time, that would be overpowered, guaranteed 621. but obviously it's not guaranteed. So where is he on average? Well, on average, we looked at the 6 costs earlier. Most of them are, well, average. They're neutral. The ability usually doesn't matter. If your deck is not prepped for a Mockingbird, that ability doesn't matter. If your deck is not prepped for a Sasquatch specifically, or a Heimdall or Hela or Null, those abilities don't really matter. So he's often a vanilla 611. Well, the Hulk is a vanilla 612. You're not going to play vanilla 611. So I think average, he's not competitive. I think on average, he's actually not a competitive card. He has good ceilings, but he's not going to be a card you want to play every game. Okay, he's a card that you maybe want as an option, but not as your go-to plan to play on turn 6, because that's a really big commitment. My first deck idea for Emperor Hulkling is this Sandman control list. Okay, so what's nice here is we have a nice steady curve. We got some control options. We're going to mess with the opponent, hit him with Spider Ham, play the White Widow, hit him with Cassandra Nova, maybe steal something from Copycat, good power Miss Marvel, and then we've got the Claw and Sandman for turn 5. And this is where things can get really good. Sandman is just really strong right now. You can play Sandman into Doctor Doom. But what's nice is if you played Miss Marvel and or Claw, and Emperor Hulkling happens to get an Onslaught or Spectrum, Onslaught is going to be great on these targets. Okay, if he gets an Odin instead, you could do that Hulkling Odin on top of Cassandra Nova, or on top of White Widow, maybe on top of whatever Copycat stole. So he's not the go-to 6-cost card here. That can be Doctor Doom. But if you do get lucky, and he hits something really good, even in Arnim Zola, especially if you had played Sandman, and now you can Arnim Zola, maybe your Cassandra Nova, or just the Sandman or something, and your opponent can only play one thing. I mean, he's got a good ceiling in this deck, but he doesn't need to happen on turn 6, which is good, because sometimes he's going to suck. Next up, I've got this Hela Tribunal list. Again, I really look at Hulkling as a sort of backup plan, okay, as a sort of option that you should not rely on as your go-to. Hela Tribunal, though, and we got the Invisible Woman version here, where we play an Invisible Woman. We're going to look to play MODOK and Hela behind that Invisible Woman, extend the game to turn 7 if we need to for Magic to get our draws down. And now with Hulkling, if we get lucky and we get a Hela, that increases our consistency. If we just get another Onslaught, that's fine. Onslaught may now land on the same location as Iron Man when brought back by Hela. If you just get like a Red Hulk or something, then it acts as it normally does when you're just playing 6-cost cards with Hela. You're just bringing back big stuff. So this one, he's normally around the curve of what you want in this deck anyways, but sometimes you get lucky and he increases your combo consistency. And last up, we've got a fun one. We've got the Meme Dream, okay? So this is an Airsham list. It's also an Agatha list. So if Hulkling gets Agatha, it doesn't matter. You already have Agatha in there. But we do have Wave in here and Psylocke to try and get this Agatha out just a little bit earlier. But this one's really in there for the RNG. I think this deck will be pretty fun. I would not recommend playing Agatha Airsham if you are climbing to Infinite. But then again, your opponent doesn't know what to expect. You do have the energy cheat. And we're just going to see some crazy stuff out of this deck. Now, to give my thoughts on this Spotlight Week from August 27th to September 3rd, alongside Hulkling, we've got Cannonball and Nimrod. These are all the Spotlight variants that will be in that week if you do already own the card. In terms of token value, it's good. Nimrod is a Series 4 card. This is actually the only Spotlight Week this whole season that featured a Series 4 cards. Okay, all the other ones were all Series 5 because there's just a lot of Series 5 cards in the game. In terms of being competitive, it's okay. We technically don't know how Hulkling is going to perform. Okay, I don't think he's going to be amazing, but I'm kind of excluding him here. Cannonball is a good card. Cannonball did lose the Professor X synergy, and he basically had an immediate exit from the meta. He has not been seen much since. He's still a decent card. I do expect him to find a home again. Maybe it's soon, maybe it's in a month or two, but he just has a strong ability. He's proven he can be really good with the right synergy, so give it time. He may be good to have in your collection, but nothing crazy right now. Nimrod, decent if you're playing, Shuri Nimrod list with destroy stuff. but it's just not really meta. It's not needed. You know, you can win with it, but it's so niche, okay? So you only chase after Nimrod if you're looking to play Shuri, Nimrod, Destroy. In terms of the variants, I don't love them. I don't think they're all bad, honestly, but I just think these cards have better variants, okay? For Hulkling, he's new. He doesn't have many out. I will say this is not my favorite Spotlight variant for a new card this month. For Cannonball, I think it's okay, but Cannonball has some other really, really good variants, okay? He's got like 2 others that are just insane. So I'm loving those. I will say if the skeletons have good animation, that could change my mind. Okay, art is subjective, but I'm looking at the animation of those skeletons and all their fingers and stuff. If that's animated well, that could change my mind. Same thing with the fire. The Nimrod one looks fine, but Nimrod has a couple variants that look very similar to that, so I just don't think the variants stand out. I don't think this is a good week to go chasing after Spotlight variants. And to give my final ratings and predictions on Emperor Hulkling himself, in terms of being fun, yeah, I think he's okay. He's not just a boring stat stick because he is doing something a little bit different each time you play him. Okay, that RNG element is fun. Sometimes you're going to get something crazy good. You're going to be super happy. Sometimes you get something horrible. You might be a little mad, but that adds in a nice fun element, that randomness. In terms of being flexible, I think he's actually very flexible. Okay, not that you always want him in your deck, but technically he doesn't require synergy and he could adapt. You know, if you're in a conquest game and you're going like 6 or 8 rounds versus somebody, he's often going to give you the good hit that you want, okay? You'll at least see it once or twice, something that just kind of works. But he doesn't need synergy. Again, he's often a vanilla 6'11". So in terms of being competitive, you know, I have him as okay. I'm not sure he's actually bad, because I don't think he's usually that harmful. I just don't think you have good reasons to run him. Again, if your deck really benefits from Blob, well then you play Blob. You don't play Hulkling hoping he gets Blob. Okay, and with decks only having 12 cards, it's a really tough argument to say, I'm going to put Hulkling in there as this backup plan, or to hope I get a second Blob. Right? I mean, that level, it's just not consistent enough to target the 6 cost you want, but it's taking up a full deck slot. And it's not like Airshim where you get the extra energy. So I'm kind of back and forth on whether Hulkling is genuinely bad or if he's just okay. But in either case, as of now, I don't see a reason why he is worth running. I don't see a reason why he is worth chasing after. So I'm giving him the no. Okay, I'm saying he's not worth chasing after with the resources. As always, you know, this is my opinion. This is how I'm predicting it. Wait a couple days after he comes out, see what happens. You know, maybe he's found out to just be super flexible and he's like the new Red Hulk, which in that case, I think you should still just run Red Hulk instead of Hulkling. But the point is, you know, wait a couple days. I could be wrong, but I'm not seeing it here. So let me know your thoughts of Emperor Hulkling in the comments down below. If you do think he has good potential, if there's some specific decks or specific combos where you can expect to usually get a good hit, maybe really surprise your opponent, steal some cubes, something that maybe Airshim can't do, let me know if I'm missing something. Okay, let me know in the comments down below. Until then, stay positive. I'll see you next time.